Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the second financial webinar in a three-part series of webinars under the scope of the SAPE EU project. The SAPE EU project, the SAPE EU is the acronym of the Affordable Housing Initiative European Partnership. It's a EU-funded European project, kind of a facility that provides support to project promoters in the field of social and affordable housing. We are talking about support in the development of renovation projects, in new construction projects, etc. Our main scope our target is to support public entities, social housing cooperatives, affordable housing cooperatives, and all type of entities, SMEs that are related to this kind of projects. My name is Álvaro Salamanca, Senior Project Manager at GNE Finance, and GNE Finance is part of the consortium. Before we start, we would like to highlight some simple rules that are here in order to have the best experience for all of us. When you are entering into the meeting, you are realizing that your microphone is mute, your video, your camera is mute, etc. So please, during the presentation of our panelists, etc., keep your microphone on mute, your camera switched off, etc. But then we will have different spaces after every presentation for Q&A. In that moment, it's up to you. You can switch on your camera, your micro, etc. You can ask to our panelists with your own voice, with your image. We prefer that, but if you don't want to appear in the recording, we understand it perfectly, so it wouldn't be a problem. I will be pending to the questions you may arise in the chat. And if you prefer to ask to our panelists in that way through the chat, I will be in charge of transfer these questions to them. As you can see, the webinar is being recorded. You gave your permission to the recording while you were registering to the webinar, and the purpose of this recording is because we don't want only to have this presentation for you, that of course our gratitude is immense because the attendance of this webinar is very high, but also on top of that, we are going to share the webinar in our social media networks, in the website of the SAPE EU project, etc., according to the dissemination purposes that we have in mind for this EU-funded project. I'm not going to explain too much about the project. We invite you to go to our website. The SAPE EU project, the second part of the SAPE project, because this is the second part of a project, is a project that in which we are 6 companies conforming the consortium. Every company, every entity has different tasks, different responsibilities in our consortium. But coming into the website you are seeing here, you can have access to different sources, to different materials we are preparing with the purpose of this social and affordable housing renovations, new construction, etc. The main resources I would like to highlight today with you is that, for example, we maintain the resources we created in SAPE 1, in the first part of SAPE EU, like a funding mapping, like a funding simulator, different best practices, etc. But in this part of the project, we are also creating other materials, like a guide with best practices in different countries, different financing models, different kind of business cases to make projects real that were successful in the past. Also, you can have access in the coming weeks to an open source financial and technical course and other type of materials. Now I'm highlighting this financial and technical course. It's an e-learning course with different activities, with different exercises, with different videos, and with different materials, where you can have access to a comprehensive way to make your business case, to make your project real. For example, part of the presentation today, the presentation that is going to be presented by me, in our learning course, you will have comprehensive definitions, comprehensive context, context about everything I'm going to speak. Today we have these speakers with us. First of all, to say thank you to them. They were very open from the beginning when we called them to present the different projects, to present the facility from Cynthia, etc. But in order to don't be me speaking the first 20 minutes, 15 minutes in a row, I prefer them to be introduced by themselves, and then we continue with the webinar. We have today with us Andrea Castellenas, Electra Mancini, Cynthia Farah, and Joao Gonçalves. So I give you the floor, Andrea, in order for a brief introduction, then to Electra, Cynthia, and Joao.
Thank you, Alvaro, and thank you everyone for joining. My name is Andrea. I'm the communications officer at L'Arinamo Fundació. L'Arinamo is a non-profit foundation that promotes and develops cooperative housing projects in Catalonia. And later on, I will be explaining you a little bit about how we finance our projects and which funding entities we manage to do it here in Catalonia. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea. Electra, go ahead.
Hello, everyone, and thank you very much for the invitation. I'm Electra Mancini. I'm representing the Hellenic Passive House Institute, and I'm an architect and a passive house designer. And the Hellenic Passive House Institute is a no-profit institute promoting and fostering a passive house project. And we can see afterwards also with the presentation what we will present today.
Thank you very much, Electra. I would like to highlight now that Electra is with fever, so a special gratitude to her.
Thank you.
For attending the webinar, and please for the attendees be nice with her with the questions because she's making a huge effort today. So thank you very much, Electra. Hi, Cynthia.
Hello, everyone. So thank you for the invitation as well. My name is Cynthia. I'm working at the European Commission, more in particular at the DG Regio, which is the DG for regional policy. Today I'm going to present to you the financing mechanism, a funding instrument, which is called the Public Sector Loan Facility, which is part of the Just Transition Mechanism, which can support housing initiatives, affordable, sustainable, and social housing. And I will give you some examples. So looking forward to the presentation.
Thank you, Cynthia. And now I'm giving the floor to Joao, our project coordinator. Joao is not going to be a panelist today, but he will be at the end of the session kind of implementing a short discussion with our three speakers. And that's why I'm giving you the floor now, Joao, in order for you to present yourself to our attendees. Thank you, Joao.
Hello. Thank you, Alvaro. Yes, I'm a Director of Innovation at Housing Europe. For the ones that don't know, Housing Europe is the European Federation of Public, Social and Cooperative Housing. We're also the coordinators of this Affordable House Initiative Partnership. So our main goal, as Alvaro already alluded, is to help the sector. And by that, I mean the stakeholders that are involved in the construction or renovation of social or affordable housing across Europe. So we have different level of capacities, and our goal is precisely to help those that don't have that much capacity to also build projects that work for the community, for the residents. Thanks a lot, Alvaro, for the invitation.
Thank you, Joao. Thank you very much. So before we start, I would like to explain you how we organize the agenda of today. Our purpose was to bring here different financing mechanisms, different funding mechanisms that are beyond traditional bankability. So in that way, we believe that, okay, first of all, we have to explain or to provide you with our vision about what a bankable business case is. And then there are millions of alternative financing mechanisms to go to make your renovation or new construction project real. There are too many options. Every project is different. Every project has to analyze itself, has to analyze their opportunities, has to analyze too many things in order to make it bankable, or maybe not. Maybe bankability is not the solution. So in that way, here we have two perfect examples that from my side, I've never seen a social cooperative like La Dinamo providing finance to other projects. And for us, when my colleague Paula Ferrando from GNE Finance presented La Dinamo to me, I was very impressed, and I wanted to bring them here in order to show it to you. And also, we are always in all our funding mappings, in all of our financing presentations, we are always talking about donations, about community-based mobilization, etc. But we haven't found too many projects in the end. And the Tavros project, that was a project also provided by my colleague Paula Ferrando and our colleagues from Housing Europe, Margarita Marinelli and Joao Salves. That's why we are bringing these projects here. But at the same time, when we are talking about traditional bankability, about this bankability according to commercial banks, to equity investors, there is other type of bankability that doesn't analyze the same things that a commercial bank or the typical investor. There are different instruments. The European Commission is making a huge effort to bring these instruments to you, and one of them is the public sector loan facility. So today we have only three examples. But as you can see coming from my presentation, and as you will see in this financial learning course, it's everything up to you. It's everything how you configure your project, how you try to get different financing or funding mechanism. So we start with building a bankable business case. But what is bankable? What is bankability? In the end, bankability, we understand bankability like the ability of a project to attract and secure financing from financial institutions, sorry. But financial institutions, we have too many different financial institutions. We have commercial banks, dozens of commercial banks in Europe, in each country. We have development banks, we have private investors. So do you think that the concept of bankability is the same for each of them? No. The answer is no. For a commercial bank, bankability means other thing. They want to know how you are going to repay the loan coming from the project cash flows, etc. A private investor, for a private investor, bankability, viability means that he's going to be remunerated. And from development bank, bankability is another concept completely different. Here we are taking into account other environmental and social things, social aspects. So coming from this project bankability concept, first of all, let's start talking about promoter credit worthiness. What is promoter credit worthiness? When we are trying to access financing from different actors like commercial banks, development banks, and private investors, okay, promoter credit worthiness in one way or the other, this capacity, this financial, institutional, and legal capacity to repay the loan, to remunerate, etc., it's going to be analyzed for all of them more or less in the same way. If you are not solvent, if your municipality, that usually is not the case, if your municipality is not solvent, or your public entity, or you as an SME, your rating is very bad, they think that you as an entity, you are not going to repay that loan. Okay, we stop the webinar here and there's no chance to finance the project, or maybe yes, with different grants. But coming from this promoter credit worthiness, first analysis they are taking into account, let's talk about project viability. Project viability is not the same for the different institutions I'm saying, commercial banks, development banks, or private investors. For a development bank, they pay a lot of attention. If they consider you are credit worthy, they are paying a lot of attention to your social and environmental impact, to your long-term impact and your resilience. Maybe your project, the financial viability of your project itself is not attractive enough, you are not generating enough cash flows, etc., but they think your project is viable. But for traditional banking, for traditional banks, commercial banks, private investors, they pay much more attention to the financial viability of your project. What it means, they are checking if with these cash flows, you're generating enough cash flows to repay the loan, etc. So bankability, the concept of bankability differs depending on the entity is analyzing you. This is a generic roadmap for project funding. As super generic, we created something in order to explain these concepts. Of course, if you have developed different projects in different sectors, etc., of course, it can differ from our roadmap. But in general terms, when we are talking about this bankability, we are here. We are in the initiation phase. We are in the initiation phase. You as a project promoter, always you have to start with a pre-feasibility study. You have to start with a market analysis. You have to start with the technical viability. But in this moment, at the same time, you have to start analyzing your financial viability. And at the same time, the funding landscape. When you analyze this financial viability, you are not analyzing this financial viability after the pre-feasibility study. Our recommendation is that you are making this analysis from the beginning. At the same time, you are making your market analysis and your technical analysis, because what it comes after, it's going to configure the project financing structure of your project, your financial plan or business plan, etc. Of course, in the development phase, you will refine your project framework, your business plan, you will try to get other funding sources, etc. But in this moment is when you have to analyze and to understand who you are, what type of promoter you are, and what kind of bankability you have or viability you have, what kind of financing or funding you can access. So we start in this moment when you are analyzing your financial viability, when you are making your own financial analysis. in the end, you have to take into account, okay, I decided the technology, I made my market analysis. So in the end, I need to have three concepts in mind: revenues, CapEx, and OpEx. Revenues is the money you expect that is going to be entering into your project in the coming years, during the lifespan of their assets. The CapEx is the capital expenditures. If we are renovating a building, these capital expenditures could be PV panels, could be new windows, could be the new facades, etc. Also, this you can include in the CapEx, in the capital expenditures, you can include the cost of these pre-feasibility studies or feasibility studies. And OpEx, you have to consider as well the operational expenses that you will have in your project. In this way, you are going to isolate these three main concepts related to the reality of the coming years in your project. Like this, in this way, you start to create your financial model. You create your financial model, you play with your financial model. Maybe these concepts are familiar for you: P&L, cash flows, valuation, payback period, equity IRR, if you are considering investors in your project, or project IRR. All these concepts are going to be explained in this e-learning course I mentioned before. But after you make your financial model, we are here. We are analyzing my financial viability. After you make your first financial model, it's now when you start to understand, okay, I isolated my project. These revenues, CapEx, and OpEx are the revenues, CapEx, and OpEx from my project. I'm not analyzing the company here. So after I create that model, I'm asking myself, is the project itself financially viable? In principle, for bankable or bankable for commercial banks and traditional investors? If not, if after this financial model is like, okay, in every configuration of my financial model, with this loan, with this investor, my cash flows are not enough. For commercial banks and traditional investors, my project is not bankable. And this is the majority of the affordable and social housing renovation projects. This is the majority. The majority of these projects are not bankable in principle from the point of view of a commercial bank and traditional investors. You know this. We are having difficulties to finance this project. So in the end, now I'm starting, okay, I have to choose between different funding sources, or maybe I have to access to different financing and operating models. The most famous ones, as you know, are these energy performance contracting, but there are other more, etc. in the way that I'm going to implement a public-private partnership, etc. And there are other alternatives. I'm not going to stay too much time here. This is just to show you the financing alternatives, the funding sources you have to start considering. And now we are stopping here in funding sources in order to link with the presentation of Andrea, Electra, and Cynthia. In the end, if my project is fully bankable, if my cash flows are enormous, are very positive, I can repay a loan, I can remunerate investors, this is all my landscape, my funding landscape. This is the analysis we made inside the CPU project. Okay, of course, depending on the measures of your project, of the characteristics, etc., you will try to access different funding sources. But in a nutshell, if you are fully bankable for commercial banks and traditional equity investors, those are all my funding sources. But as I said, in the majority of the cases, these projects, in principle, at first, are not bankable, are not attractive for commercial banks, for traditional investors. So what is happening now? My landscape, my mapping is reduced. Now I don't have these traditional investors. Now I don't have access to commercial banks. Now it's not recommended to issue different bonds, capital market debt, and of course, I'm not going to access to private investment funds because no one is going, in principle, no one is going to invest in my project. But the landscape remains enormous. You have a lot of combination, a lot of funding sources to make your project real. Now linking with our panelists, here we are going to focus for the project that Andrea is going to present to this concessional debt and to this community equity financing. She's going to explain how they are financing this, their projects, etc. And once they use concessional debt, once they use community equity financing, they are more attractive for commercial banks. They are more bankable for commercial banks. And these projects are including commercial debt in the project financing structure. But to get this commercial debt, they had to make something different. For the project, for the Tavros project from Electra, you will see that there are projects that in the end are being funded by classic donations and by community financing that is non-repayable. And there are other mechanisms like the public sector loan facility that is going to be presented by Cynthia that is in this box. So in a nutshell, today we have 3 different examples for alternative financing beyond this traditional bankability. But there are hundreds of combinations. And also if you combine these funding sources with all these financing and operation models, or you are making things like project bundling, other mechanisms like on bill, on tax, etc. In the end, there are millions of combinations to create the project financing structure of your project. So you have to analyze it, you have to make a good pre-feasibility study, you have to analyze all your options, and there is not a common solution for all of you. This is the end of my presentation. I think we are kind of on time. Thank you very much. This is my email. In the coming days, you will receive an email from myself with the access to the recording, etc. But if you want to take it from here, and that's all from my side. Thank you very much for your attention. I'm stop sharing, and I give the floor to Andrea.
Thank you, Alvaro. I'm gonna start sharing the presentation. Let me put it on full screen. Perfect. Okay, thank you very much for the invitation. I'm gonna give you first a little bit of context. I assume most of people or many of you maybe know cooperative housing projects, but just in case, I just wanna first talk about a little bit about La Dinamo before jumping into the finance system of our projects. So La Dinamo was a foundation that was established in 2016 with the main goal of promoting and develop cooperative housing projects here in Catalonia. And the foundation was started by a donation, actually, a private donation that they gave us a building. And the best way to mobilize it to a co-op and not to a private asset was to create the foundation so we could transfer it into a co-op and then they manage it. So that's a little bit like our beginnings. We also have the case of La Borda, that it's this project from here. It was the first cooperative housing project in public land in Catalonia. And the members of La Borda, they wanted to transfer all their knowledge to an entity that then they could help others to become real as they managed to do it. So we have like these two ingredients, like first the private donation of a building and the transfer of knowledge that La Borda did to La Dinamo. These two ingredients, they make La Dinamo in 2016, and that's how the foundation was born. We don't do all the work alone. We also have these partners that help us in different moments of the whole process, that it's creating a cooperative from scratch. We first have LACOL. They help us with the architecture and the construct management of the projects. Then we count with La Ciutat Invisible. They do the economical plans of the cooperatives and also like all the legal advisor that they need. And then we have Matrio, that they are group mediators and facilitators, and they help more the group when the people need it, because at the end, this is a model that it's constructed by its members. So there are a lot of group decisions. It's a collective model. So sometimes we do need some group mediator or facilitator that can help the members. So having said that, the main work of La Dinamo, it's basically the technical support to projects. This is like our main service that we offer, but then we also do all these other things, right? We also do dissemination of the model in Catalonia or outside. We also help other entities to hear about our experience. We also do a lot of political advocacy, because most of these projects, they wouldn't be possible if they weren't like public policies that trust them and that impose them. Then we also do some academical research, so we can prove that this model helps people, it's more affordable, it can take public and private land from speculation and turn it into affordable housing. So all of this, we can contrast it with our academical research. And then we also do group development, and we help people that want to maybe do a project, but they don't know anyone, or they cannot find a group of people that wanted to do it. We also help them to become real, and that they can first be a group to then be a project. This is only also for the context that the membership base of La Dinamo, it's around 1,000 people. Most of them, more than 57%, it's people that currently they are in co-ops projects, either leading on them or they are under development, but in a couple of months they will be finished. Then we have around the 30% that they are people in these initial groups, that usually it's basically groups that are waiting for a land opportunity or a building opportunity, either public or private, but they haven't found it yet. And then around the 12%, it's individuals that want to either join a group or a project, but haven't done it yet. Okay, so a bit more context. This is the map of projects of La Dinamo. Currently, we have 19 projects. 8 of them, they are inhabited, so they are already self-managed and people are running their own cooperatives. And then 11 of them, they are under development. Most of them, they will finish the construction in June, because they have the next generation fund that it's mandatory that they finish their projects in June 2016. So most of them, they are on the final track of the construction. And then some other characteristics, it's that in total, we are talking about 357 dwellings with these 19 projects. The ones that are in this pink red, they are the ones in public land. As you can see, most of the public land projects, they are located in Barcelona. This is also because there was a specific public policy that encouraged the mobilization of public land to cooperative housing projects here in Barcelona. But lately, we have also been seeing how other city councils in the country had also mobilized public land to this type of project. So it's a good sign that other city councils are like joining in the model. And then with this color, this blue purplish color, we have the projects that they are in private land. Well, they used to be in private land, right? We either bought it or we mobilize it into cooperative housing projects, and now they are affordable housing projects that fulfill this purpose. They are not on the sort of speculation anymore. So this is a little bit of context, so we can talk about how we finance these projects, right? Before I get into the actual financing entities that we used in La Dinamo, I first wanted to explain how a cooperative housing project is financed here in Catalonia, because I know that in other parts of Europe, everyone has their own system and everyone actually tried to find a way to finance the project. So yeah, I wanted to explain how we do it here, so then you can understand which banking entities we used. So what we have to think is that, first of all, we have the total cost of a project, right? In here, we need to put any cost from the beginning until the members enter to live to their building. All the costs are here counted. And the 10% of this total cost, it has to come from the members of the cooperative. This is what it's called the initial capital. It's always the 10% of the total cost. And it's what in here says that it's refundable once you leave the cooperative. It's a payment that a person needs to make in order to become a member of that cooperative housing project. And they have to do the payment before they enter to live. Usually they have to do the payments right before the construction, because it's the moment that you need more cash flow and you need to start paying like the big bills. So yeah, usually it's between 20,000 to 40,000 euros per dwelling, not per person. And it depends a lot on the total cost, if it's a new construction, if it's a refurbishment, if we had to buy the land, or if it was public, that this total cost can be one or the other, and that impacts directly to the initial capital numbers. Then we have around the 20-30% of this total cost that comes from subsidies from the Catalan government and the Spanish government. These subsidies are, we have access to them, not because we are doing cooperative housing, but because we are doing affordable housing. This means that all of our projects needs to fulfill the requirements of affordable housing. That basically, it means two things: that all the members, there is a maximum amount of income that they can be earned per year here in Spain, and they cannot possess or own any property. So this is like basically the two rules that they need to fulfill in order to acquire this affordable housing permit, and then they can enter the project. If someone doesn't fulfill this criteria, they cannot be members, because this 20-30%, it's essential to being able to develop the projects. Without this money, it will be very, very difficult to promote them. And that's why. So then we have around the 70-60%, it depends on each project, that it goes to finance. So this is what we understand typical finance, where we need a loan from someone that can give us this 60-70% of the total amount of the cost of the project. So in here, it's where I come into this table. I know there is a lot of information, and I'm sure that we will share the presentations later if someone wants to really go into detail. I'm just gonna give like the highlights of the information of this table because there's not so much time. So basically in here we have each name of each cooperative housing project. And then on the second column, we have the funding entity. I highlighted in this gray the projects that they are in public land. And then in white, I left the ones that they were in private land. So we can see how basically in the funding entities, the ones that are public, usually, all of them except this first one, they are funded by the ICF, which it means Institut Català de Finances. It's basically the public bank here in Catalonia. And they are the ones who have funded most of our projects in public land, because there is this agreement that if you are building in public land and you are doing affordable housing, because it's mandatory in public land, they gave us the external funding that we need. This first one, it's not funded by the ICF because it's one of the first projects after La Borda that was created here in Catalonia. And during that time, it was a bit difficult that the ICF, they weren't really trusting the model in that moment. So they didn't give us the funding. So we had to find other ways of getting it. So in this case, what we did, it's like that also that connects with the projects in private land, that it's COP57. This is an entity that we have here in Catalonia. It's a cooperative financial service thing. It's not really a bank. It's just a financial service that they fund cooperatives in general, not only housing. So they are in the social economy. So it wasn't that hard to convince them to as well fund cooperative housing projects because it kind of like fulfill all the criteria that they have when they give loans. So they were the first ones trusting the model and wanted to invest on it. And that's why they founded La Raval and also all the other projects in private land that we have. As you can see as well, some of the projects, it says that they are also funded by La Dinamo in some percentage. That it's true because La Dinamo, because it's a foundation and we can gather donations. We also have a capital money that we have used to also finance a little part of our projects. We are not as big as to finance such a big loan, but we have contributed with the money that we can to finance as well projects, because our goal is always that the project becomes real. So we help with either our work or finances towards it. Okay, moving on. In here you have, the percentage, the funding amount, also the interest rate. Another thing that I wanted to highlight about this is that the projects that they are in public land, they have this interest rate that it's kind of low. COP57, it gives a 3.25% interest rate. But this one, it's low because part of it as well, it's subsidized by the public administration. So I think the real interest rate that the ICF loan money to the project, it's around the 3.9%, but then the public administration subsidize 1.4, 1.5, depending on the project. And that's why this interest rate is as well lower than, for example, COP57, that it's not subsidized. And then we have the period years of the loan. All of them, they have mortgage. And then we have if they require warranties or not. In the case of the ICF, they they ask for a warranty of to the project. That in this case, it was also Latinamo, the one who put it for the projects in advance, so the cooperatives could access the loan. Yeah, in here I just wanted to show some of the projects, right? Because in the previous table it just like names, but I think when you see the pictures, it's like, okay, this money actually it's helping towards creating new projects. Yeah, basically, yeah, I just wanted to highlight like this is Sutrak. It's one of the ones in public land, in public plot. It's 38 dwellings, and then we have Empriu as well. They are the ones who are like they have like the higher funding amount of loans, also because they are the bigger projects with 38 dwellings and 40 dwellings. Then we have La Torreta, that in this case, it's more tiny. It's only 12 dwellings. And instead of in a public plot, it's in a public building. So it's a refurbishment. And this also impacts the cost. Usually a refurbishment, it's a higher cost than a new construction. So yeah, there are just like differences. Then we have Cal Blanchard. This one, it's in a town called Berga. It's 13 dwellings and it's a private building. This was a purchase that the cooperative made directly to a private owner, and now they are doing the refurbishment. This type of projects, they are quite expensive because you need to do the purchase. When it comes to public plot, it's usually a leasehold that doesn't cost any money, just like the city council gave it to you. So these types of projects, they are more costly. And then it's also sometimes more difficult to find funding. That's why we are very lucky that projects like COP57, they are willing to loan the money because they see the political, like the political, what it means to have this project, right? Like this project, it's not only affordable housing, it's also like it's in a tiny village with a lot of young people. They have to go because there are no longer housing in those villages and stuff. So it's not only about having an affordable house, it's also, for example, in this case, to create life in a village, and that not everyone has to go into cities. Anyway, yes, sorry, I could be talking for hours in the projects. But yeah, this is La Raval and then also La Titaraña, very similar to Cal Blanchard. They also had to purchase the building.
Thank you very much, Andrea. If you agree, we can proceed with some questions that are coming from the audience because it's 8 to 12 and maybe we are running out of time a bit.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, of course.
No problem. No, it was super interesting. Okay, we received a couple of questions from the audience. Franco Amigoni, beneficiary from CPU facility, asked at some point, but I don't know if you answer it because I was paying attention to other questions. He asked Franco Amigoni, average of 600, but can you give a range, please?
I think he means from this slide that in here said average 600 euros. This is the monthly contribution that each dwelling has to pay for living in one of the dwellings once they start living. And that basically it's in average because we just like each project has its own monthly contribution depending on how much this finance part is. So in average, within all of our projects, it's this 600 euros per dwelling, not per person. So this is what it means. I didn't explain it, but that's the meaning.
Good, thank you. Great. And Stefan Kraus asked, who is your socio-economic target beneficiary group? Based on your explanations, he understands that in order to acquire the right for a dwelling, one needs to contribute at least 20,000 euros minimum. Hence, I would assume that this is not really covering vulnerable people who would not dispose of that amount of money, but rather groups of people who are a bit better off.
Yeah, I also didn't, yeah, there are like a lot of things that I didn't explain. That's true. It's a high amount of money to have, but then usually what the cooperatives do is that you don't have to pay it right away. Usually they give you a certain time, like up to 2-3 years, to put that amount before the cooperative actually needs it before the construction. Then if this person is not able to save all that money, then there are also solidarity mechanisms between the members, like a member can loan you that money if they have it at a zero interest, like just between two individuals. And if not, there are also like, they have done like crowdfunding campaigns, and some other solutions. So the basic idea is that no one is left outside a project only because they don't have this initial capital. So the cooperatives try to do, the members of the cooperatives try to do everything in order that this money it's there for everyone. It's true that maybe it depends a lot on the size of the cooperative, etc. But there are also some other mechanisms that they can use.
Thank you. Good to hear that. Sasa Marignac is asking if you have done a public-private partnership or you're considering public-private partnerships in the future for this affordable housing, and what are the benefits if there are any, if you already make a public-private partnership.
Yeah, like we haven't, it's this last slide that I didn't really explain. Like we haven't really done any loan with like a commercial bank or conventional bank because they don't like the first thing, or like one of the things that it's not possible. It's because they would never loan money to a collective property model, right? They always lend to individuals, and that's one of the things that breaks with the cooperative housing model, because in us the money it's lent to the cooperative, never to the members. So this is why it's very difficult to access commercial banking systems, because they don't trust in this model.
Thank you. It seems you have a lot of questions.
We can maybe we can continue with the rest of presentations, and then on the discussion part, maybe we can answer them. Or of course, everyone can as well just find us and send me the questions later.
Yeah, maybe you are right, because we are running out of time. You have access, Andrea, to the chat. Could you please answer these questions directly to the chat? But before leaving, Joao Gonçalves has a question for you, and then please answer the questions directly in the chat.
Well, actually, I hate to be put forward all these interesting questions you have there in the chat, but yeah, you will give them the attention they deserve as well. I just had just a curiosity question.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you need guarantees so that the banks can loan you the amount that you need, right? How much difference would it make if there was some public bank or something like that linked to the IB, for example, that would provide those guarantees, and you can access the commercial banking? Is this something you thought of? What are the problems associated with this?
Yeah, I would say like the guarantee that they ask, it's not really that it's not really a problem. La Dinamo put it instead of the projects because we had the money. It's not a very high amount. It's just an amount that I think it's like to charge the first 6 months of the monthly contributions at the beginning of the period. It's just like some sort of in case there is some impairments or something like that. So I wouldn't say our main challenge. It's not really like the guarantees. It's just like if we had more funding, we could do more projects, and also the public bank, it's good, but they also have like limited amounts that they lend. And yeah, like if we really want to scale the model and make it for everyone, we need more funding. Of course, like in a good interest rate and with longer periods, but that's really like what it's making us not grow as much as we want to, because we have the people, we have the lands, but it's hard to have this amount of funding because yeah, the public bank is also limited, and COP57 also has its own limitations because it's just like a social economy finance service. So yeah, I don't really know if I answered the question, Joao, or even Mendes, or
you have available land ready to be built.
Yes, ready to be purchased, but we don't have the capacity yet because it's a higher price. So yeah, we have like around 20 groups that are just waiting for land to be purchased or mobilized. So yeah, we have to go into a lower pace because of that, because we need more access to this funding, that it's like with a good interest rate and with longer periods, and then they trust that it's collective property.
All right, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you both. My apologies, Joao, but I cannot present you as a speaker or a person providing discussion without giving you the floor for at least one question. But I'm quite happy because our delay is not because of we are talking too much. It's also because it's quite interesting, the topic you are presenting, and we have too many questions. So please, Andrea, go ahead answering by answering these questions through the chat, and I am giving the floor to Electra in order to present the Tavros project. Thank you, Andrea.
Thank you,
thank you, Electra.
Just a second. So, hello everybody. I'm going to present the Tavros project with the title of Corporate Sponsorship and Community-Based Mobilization. I will introduce briefly the project and the building to understand a bit what we have done. So the Tavros project is about the energy retrofit according to the passive house standard of a social housing. It was built in the late 60s to accommodate immigrants, and it has 8 separated apartments. Passive house is a design standard that achieves thermal comfort with minimal heating and cooling by using 5 basic passive house principles that we can see later on in the presentation. This is the building today, but that wasn't the initial state of the building. The initial state of the building is this that you can see in the picture. Basically, we have 4 floors, and the building was totally uninsulated. The people living there were living in energy poverty, in hard energy poverty, and the lack of insulation led to very poor thermal performance. The residents were paying high energy bills while still experiencing low level of comfort, and especially during winter and summer peaks. I want to add that actually the project is based through its entire life cycle on the direct involvement of the residents, exactly because we aim to become a pilot case for scaling up energy efficiency renovation in Greece in general. So what we have done, following the EnerFit standard for deep retrofits, we approach the building in a very strategic way, systematic way. We improve, first of all, the thermal envelope. So we added a lot of insulation on the roof, on the walls, and also on the floor, on the floor of the ground floor, because we have a basement. Then we replace the five things, the five intervention you can see on the left are the five basic principles of passive house standards. So we replace the old windows with high performance frame, and air tightness was another key priority. We carefully sealed the building internally and around the windows connection. We also identify and resolve all major thermal breaches, which are typically weak points in building from this era, but not only. And each apartment was equipped also with mechanical ventilation system with heat recovery. And also we upgraded also the solar thermal system for domestic hot water, and we installed photovoltaic system. So all of these measures transform the building from an energy-consuming structure into a highly efficient and eventually also positive energy building, reducing the heating demand of the building by 90% compared to the state before the renovation. So this is the project, the introduction of the project, and this is also the aesthetic renovation we have done. From an energy point of view, you can see we are monitoring the building since the beginning, but also we will keep monitoring it for the 5 years coming. And in the first picture, you can see how the two lines, the indoor thermal comfort and the outdoor temperature are more or less an offset. This is showing how the houses inside are depending and are affected by the temperature outside. And in the second picture, you can see how stable it is, the indoor temperature in comparison with the fluctuation of the outdoor temperature. Yeah, so now we're coming to the challenges and the funding system and problems we have. So during all the process of realizing this project, the biggest challenge at the beginning, like for the start of the project, was gaining the trust of the residents. So we were working with people who had been living in energy poverty for years. So there was understandable skepticism also about what we were talking about. And building trust required time and a constant presence on site, transparency, but also a continuous dialogue that we keep also now, and we try to open also to the rest of the neighbor. But another major challenge was the financial part that I want to share with you. And we started with zero construction and labor budget. This means we had no funds, not only for the materials, but the system itself, but also for their installation. So on top of that, we had also absolutely no budget for marketing and communication, and communication was essential for us also in order to gain some funding or support. What actually in this table, in this slide, you can see what cost at the end the project. That it was 200,000 euro, and here you can see partially what costed. And actually, the Davros project. We relied on a very particular combination of support. Let's say companies supported us with material and expertise. Partners contributed time and technical knowledge, and we volunteering a lot, being hands-on the construction side. So actually, the Davros project is a mix of many different stakeholders and actors that we try to combine in order to reach this result. I want to underline here that actually the specific financial model does not constitute the standard financing model we adopt for the implementation of our project. It is applied only on to the Passivistas pilot project due to actually the current lack of appropriate financing instrument we have in Greece. So the only way for realizing, implementing a pilot project in Greece here was this mix of actors, exactly because we don't have a clear financing and supporting system. Analyzing how all this was possible, let's start from the beginning. We were taking part to the EU-funded project Rhino that gave us at the beginning 92,000 euro, which played, of course, a crucial and catalytic role in launching the project. The budget covered the energy simulation and passive house implementation study, the monitoring equipment, the installation, the monitoring equipment, and part of system since plus personal cost. And here are the 37 companies from the construction sector that supported the Tavros project. Instead of providing direct financial contribution, they gave us a system and materials, high performance materials, and specialized services. So we create this network of companies. And another key component was the community mobilization and volunteering work. It was as well a really big part of the project. We had no dedicated construction or labor budget, so we had to really rely on active engagement. Part of the work was carried out by ourselves and by volunteers, which they helped us move faster. But at the same time, the project became a real-life training ground. So we set a collaboration with a no-profit organization like the Odyssea and the company Vitex, and we organized passive house trade person course aimed at refugees and people from vulnerable backgrounds. And this allowed participants not only to receive theoretical training, but also in practice, like to be on site and to practice, giving them the possibility also in the future to find a job. And the last two columns, you can see people from our team, but also people from the courses, the passive house design courses we have, while installing a mechanical ventilation system. So really the synergy and the collaboration was one of the most important pillars of this project. Then we tried also with Greenpeace Greece to launch crowdfunding, but it failed. We gained only 1,184 euro. So the remaining missing funding was covered by the Hellenic Passive House Institute. Another really important support was the municipal support. The mayor of Moscato Tavros was personally supported the project and helped also to facilitate key administrative procedures. That is not a small part, because Kate helped us a lot with administrative delays and a series of obstacles that we have in the implementation process. So the funding structure of the Davos project did not emerge as a predefined strategy. As I told you before, it emerged out of necessity. At the beginning, there was simply no available liquid capital to finance such a project. So instead of starting from a financial tool, we started from the project vision, and then we understood little by little, step by step, what is the system that can realize it from a financial point of view. The implementation of the Davros project, the pilot, basically provides a know-how to sponsor and to participatory companies, creating the condition for the development of a replicable financing model for large-scale energy renovation project for the scale-up. So the vision is like to create the pilot in order to try to find a way to scale it up on a larger scale with other financial model. According to our financial calculation, once renovated, the building operate as a positive energy building. So that means it produces more energy than it consumes. And based on this performance, we estimate that the initial retrofit investment of approximately 200,000 could be recovered about 15 and a half years. So we calculate that over a 20-year period, the project could generate a return of 34%, more or less, assuming that it were structured under an ESCO project contract, for example. And speaking about alternative financial model, we are now taking part to a citizen-led model for deep energy renovation, and it's called SPETE. And this is a model we would like to support and to test. Instead of treating energy community, basically the way is working is that instead of treating energy community as passive recipients of funding, it empowers them to become active providers of energy efficiency services. The process starts with mapping local stakeholder and building a one-stop shop. But through targeted training and capacity building, the Institute, Hellenic Passive House Institute, supports community in taking real ownership of renovation project, helping also to closing the gap between technical position and financial viability. And at the end, even though if we hadn't the budget for the communication part, we gain visibility. We are really happy for this. We had a lot of publication, and we had also 3 major awards, including the new European Bauhaus prizes, in the category of prioritizing places and people that need it the most. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Electra. I was having too many questions during your intervention, but after a new question came from my side, then you answered. You answered it. So congratulations for your presentation, all the questions I was having. And maybe that's why there are not too many questions in the chat. So
thank you.
I only have one question, and maybe if there are no more questions in the chat, I will give the floor to Joao. And my only question is related to the corporate sponsorship. When you said that okay, most of our sponsors provide us more with materials than with money. That this is quite impressive, the effort you had to make to coordinate all of this, etc. But my first question is like, okay, do you have any corporate sponsor that provided you with money instead of with materials? And if so, did you have any red line to decide from who you are accepting the money?
So we didn't get money from our sponsors. Like for example, we had 8 different apartments, and in each apartment we have, for example, windows from different companies, mechanical ventilation for different companies. So yeah, they only provide us with material and systems. And they are already collaborators of the Hellenic Passive Houses. So they are people who are already engaged in high energy buildings. So we reinforce actually this collaboration we had already as an institute, and they are professionals that are interested in building efficiently, and they know how to build it, and they have also the material and the systems that can fulfill the requirement of a passive house building.
Good, thank you. Jose Espina is asking if the residents are involved or they have access to the monitoring of the energy system, or they are involved in the management.
Of course. Yes. So we installed some systems that are linked on an application, so they can have access to their monitor system, and we inform them as well how it's going when we notice that something is not working in the right way. And a part of this, this project will be open also for the next 5 years as a living lab in order to open the result. I mean, it will be an open source project. We will open all the results and all the monitoring results to anyone who wants to understand better how a passive house system is working. So everything is accessible from everybody.
And do you have any kind of training to the residents, or you provide them with some guidelines, these typical guidelines or something like that?
First of all, they follow all the process, and that was as well one of the other difficulty, but also interesting part is that we did this renovation at the same times with the residents living in the apartments, and this was challenging. What we are trying to explain then now, and we can see that it takes a long time, is like to make them understand how a passive house building is working, because they are mentally thinking as before. So they are afraid of turning on the AC system because they are not still convinced that they won't pay the same amount as before. So because they were people living in energy poverty for a long time, they're afraid on turning on the AC, even though if they turn it now on, they can have like a thermal comfort for like with the minimum use of the cooling and heating means. It takes time for them to change the mentality, but we are trying to help them understand that with the minimum energy consumption, they can have the best thermal comfort. So it is in the process. So this is the training we are doing, let's say.
Good, thank you, Electra. Joao, do you want to say something, ask something before leaving? Because we are running out of time and Joao has to leave the webinar in 6 minutes.
Actually, first of all, I wanted to say it's quite an heroic endeavor, this this renovation of the district. We see all the volunteering even from the promoters of this house. So congratulations on that. And my first question, so I have two questions, if that's all right. I think the first question is linked a bit to that, this almost heroism that to renovate this building. If you could provide a bit the context in Greece, maybe some participants don't understand the housing system there, and why we need to figure out all this in the need for this funding blend, so that you have to find financing not only one but across the board. And the second question would be if you have any plans to solidify some of the lessons learned in this project for future projects. Maybe you have established some more formal, more stable relationships, maybe with public institutions, that you won't need to take the same steps or all the work that you had to achieve these amazing results there in that city.
Yeah, thank you for the question. So answering to the first question, in Greece, the need for energy renovation is really, really high. The law for the insulation, the building insulation, came only in the 1979. That means like the most of the country was already built, and that means the buildings that need this renovation are really high. We are in parallel conducting also research about energy poverty in Greece, and we found out that actually energy poverty doesn't affect in Greece, doesn't affect only vulnerable people, but it's also in context where the people socially are on a higher level. So we started from this complex of buildings that are social housing buildings, a specific type, a Bauhaus type, so geometrically also, let's say, really simple. But the thing is, like, the amount of this kind, like this typology of buildings in not only in Athens but in Greece is really a lot, and that was also a strategic point for us, because the replicability could be, let's say, more simple, because it's easy to expand the same system to a really large area also outside Athens, and we are working on this goal. Like, we have the know-how, and the building also in the area are a lot, and we are trying to scale up it's really a good base to find a way to scale up in a fast way. So this is the first answer, and the thing, the involvement of the residents and trying also to open the building as a living lab is the other step, a social step, like trying to make the community, to build also a network of the people living in these buildings in the neighborhood, and to support us as well, and to foster this system in the neighborhood. The other question, and I have also to add that the state funding programs for energy retrofit is not really working. There is a main one that is changing every year, but the fact is that actually they didn't. They couldn't arrive. The retrofit at the building level, it wasn't possible through this funding program. And as an institute that we work on energy efficiency, we know that retrofitting an apartment, it's nothing in comparison with what we need, that is retrofitting whole buildings. So we need financial support on energy, on a building scale, and not on apartment scale, but that's not existing so far. And the second question, yeah, we try to we try to work on this small relationship in order to arrive to something bigger, and solidifying the relationship we have already built so far helped us, and having this project helped us to build the next step.
Thank you.
Thank you, Electra. There is a couple of questions for you in the chat. I would kindly ask you for answering them. From Teofil Baez at 12:26, and there is another question that Maria Dimitriou already answered, but please, Electra, because we are running out of time. It's the first time we are organizing a webinar running out of a lot of time, but I believe that the situation called for it because of your interventions. Thank you, Electra. And I proceed to give the floor to Cynthia. This is the last presentation of today, but not the less important. And on the other side is one of the most important facilities we have here in Europe for the public sector. So thank you very much, Cynthia. Please go ahead with the presentation of the public sector loan facility.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Can you see my screen?
Yes, but not in a show presentation, in a show mode.
Wait, now I cannot see it anymore. Wait, I stopped sharing, sorry.
No worries.
It is again. Is this big enough? No?
No, I'm not seeing anything now. Oh, but it seems.
Okay, I don't know what's happening. It used to work this morning. I will just share my entire screen.
Maybe I can share your. You already sent me
Can you see it now?
No, it's a bit weird.
Because I can see the full screen, so I don't know what's happening.
Do you agree if I show your slides?
Yes, sure.
Okay. Wait a second, please. Okay. I know I'm not showing the full screen. I will try to make it better.
Okay. Maybe I can start.
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay. So today I'm going to present to you one of the funding instruments that we have at European Commission, which can also fund sustainable, affordable, and social housing. It is called the Public Sector Loan Facility. Now it's the full screen, so great. You can go to the next slide. So I'm going to present to you the main features of this instrument. I will give you the bigger the bigger framework, because it's an instrument which was established under the Just Transition mechanism. It's a mechanism that was adopted to support and finance regions that are going to be most exposed to the transition challenges of the green transition, of the climate change, and this in all EU member states. Under this the so-called Just Transition mechanism, we have three pillars. As you can see here on the screen, we have the Just Transition Fund, which is primarily focusing on grants. We have the InvestEU, which has a dedicated Just Transition scheme, which is about private investments. And we have the third pillar, which I'm going to talk about today, which is the public sector loan facility, and it's there to leverage public investments. What all these pillars have in common is that they all are centered around the so-called territorial just transition plans. So every member state at the beginning, when the mechanism was established, every member state had adopted these territorial just transition plans. And in these plans, you can see, and if you read them, you can see the development needs of that have been put there for the just transition regions, and what could be eligible there for financing for overcoming the challenges and the development needs of these just transition regions. And there in these plans, of course, housing is put there by different regions. So these plans are very important to see the needs and to see what could be eligible under what I'm going to talk about. Okay, next slide. So our facility, which is called the Public Sector Loan Facility, or just simply said, the PSLF, is a blending facility. So we're talking about a blended type of financing, which means that we have grants which are combined with loans. The grants, as you see on the top of the slides, the grants are by the European Commission, and we do it together. So it's DG Regio, and we do it together with our executive agency, which is called CINEA, or the European Climate Infrastructure and Environmental Executive Agency. And then we have the loans, and the loans are by the European Investment Bank, the EIB. And the figures on the right side of the slides, these are the figures that we have for the bigger numbers, let's say, for the whole facility. So we have up to approximately 10 billions of loans to be given by the European Investment Bank. We have up to 1.5 billion of grants by the EU. And then, so we are altogether, we're going to approximately, in estimation, to mobilize 18.5 billion of public investments altogether. Next slide, please. So the main features for who is eligible, who can apply, who can receive funding under the instrument that we're talking about. First of all, let me make clear that what is on this slide is actually for what is eligible for the European Commission. So what is eligible for the grant part. There is another application stream, work stream for the IB, and this is a different stream, but I'll come back to this later. But just be aware that what is on this slide is for the grant component. So who are our beneficiaries, or who can benefit? It's in principle public sector entities. It can be also private law bodies, but they have to demonstrate that they have a public service mission. Our budget. I told you that we have up to 1.3 billion of financing, which is available under the grant part. And we had the first call, which was running already last year's. Now, the end of last year, we have published a new call, and I will talk about it later on. And under this new call, we have a budget still available of 630 million, and this is available until the end of 2027. This money, the 6,300, is now available for all EU member states on a competitive basis without any pre-allocated national envelope. Because before, but I'm not gonna focus a lot on it, because before, so under the first call, now we are under the second call. Under the first call, we had the money, but the money was split by national shares for every member state. Now it's not the case anymore, so it's really on a competitive basis. And you can follow the budget consumption on our website. What is important also to know it's that the grant is in the form of financing not linked to cost, which means that we don't really look to the cost of the project, but we calculate the grant on the basis of the loan. It's actually a percentage of the loan. So either you get 15% out of the loan, or if your region has an additional categorization, which is called less developed regions, this is in line with the cohesion policy categorization, then your project is going to get out of the percentage of the loan 25%. We are here in a blending instrument mechanism, which means that we cannot give the grant without a loan. So we really need both components to have both to make use of the public sector loan facility. Now, very important also is our geographical scope. So the projects must benefit a territory that has been identified in the so-called TJTPs, or what I was talking about in the first slide. And these are the territorial just transition plans. So as I will recall again, these territorial just transition plans are very important, have been adopted by the member states, and every member state had adopted which regions are actually eligible for this funding, which we call the just transition regions. And they also put in the plans the development needs, including the sectors that are eligible for funding under PSLF. Some of them have put housing forward, some of them have put energy efficiency of housing forward, others have written the plans very broadly, others more restrictly. So it's really for you to go and have a look at these plans and see what are the developments need that are put there, and whether housing, whether it's sustainable, affordable, or social housing, can be eligible for your region under our facility. And then what we also have is that we provide from the Commission free of charge for public entities, at least advisory support. And this is given by our colleagues from the IB, who would help you with your application process, with the bankability of your project, etc. So they have a whole range of let's say advisory services that can help you with all the steps of applying, developing your project, etc. So and we have dedicated 35 million euro under our facility for such support, which beneficiaries, applicants can get free of charge. Next slide, please. So this is the map of the EU, and the green the green areas on the map, these are the regions that are eligible for funding under the PSLF. And as you see in each member states, some of member states are they have wider geographical scope, others less. So it's yeah. But this is a map, is an illustration of the regions that we have in mind. Next slide, please. Okay, so the objective and scope, as I told you, the PSLF is actually is there to support projects which are going to address the challenges deriving from the transition towards the climate targets of the Union. It is very broad, as you see. It's really broad. It can cover a lot of sectors, environmental, like biodiversity, circular economy, on the climate part, energy efficiency, efficient district heating networks, renewable energy, but it has also this social side. And so, as you will see in bigger, it can be also about social infrastructure, including care facilities and also housing, social housing, affordable housing. But so we have this wider scope. And why? Because we are also linking it to what the member states have put forward in the plans according to the development needs of each region. Okay, next slide, please. So this is an example of a project. Let's say we have a project. This project would apply for a loan, and they would get, on average, 50% from the IB, which is with a minimum of usually 12.5 million. It can be above. But this is so the framework, the conditions of the loan, they're really part of the IB policy, the European Investment Bank policy, and it's really up to the applicant to go and negotiate the loan parameters, the loan conditions with the European Investment Bank. But this is a bit, this is a slide that is showing you a bit how the facility in its entirety works. So you have one project which would get a loan on average 50%. It can be above. This is I say it again, depending on the conditions that you negotiate, that the applicant negotiate with the bank. And then out of this loan, which is a minimum 12.5 million, out of this loan, you get from the European Commission. Of course, if your project is approved, you get 15% or 25% if I told you about this additional categorization of less developed regions. So you get 1.8 or 3.1 million if it's in less developed regions. And so this gives you an effective grant rate of 5 to 18% on average of the total investment cost. What we also have under the facility is that you can also apply. I mean, this is a financing product which is available under the bank, which is called loan schemes or framework loans. What does it mean? Is that you can combine in one investment program different projects in one program, and for this it's a minimum budget of 25 million. So you will combine them in one loan scheme, and you combine smaller projects together. This is also a possibility. There are additional conditions to get the grant. One of them is that the project must not generate sufficient streams of revenues to cover their investment cost, which is for social and affordable housing mostly the case. But of course, you need to demonstrate this. And but okay, I'm not going to go into details. Another condition is that project cannot receive support from other union programs. So, if you recall, I was saying that the first pillar of the Just Transition mechanism is the Just Transition Fund, which might be known to some of you. Grants from the Just Transition Fund cannot be combined with grants from our facility. This is it simply. Next slide, please. Okay, so now I am going to talk about the second call for proposals. We've had the first call for proposals, which was running until the end of 2025. Now we have published the second call for proposals, and I told you that under this call we have 630 million euros available in grants for projects, for housing projects as well. And there we have 4 submission deadlines. The first one is already behind us. It was on the 27th of January, 2026. But we still have 3 more to go, 16 April, 17 September, and 16 February. And there we have 2 call topics, standalone projects, as I told you, like projects which are standing on their own, but we have also framework loan. These are the schemes, the loan schemes that I was talking about for combining different smaller projects in one loan scheme. And this is typically for housing. For instance, if you have housing projects, affordable housing projects in different regions in one country, or in more countries can also be, in one country, you can combine them. If they are smaller size of financing, you can combine them in one loan scheme and go and negotiate all these projects in one loan scheme with the bank. This is also possible. Okay, so our call was published on the 23rd of October last year, and you can find the call on the funding and tender portal of the, which is the entry point for grants and tenders on the for the European Commission. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is the application process. It is what we have here is that you have one, let's say, work stream to get the grant and another one to negotiate and until the signature of the loan. So for the grants, there are these submission deadlines that I just told you about. So you have a project, let's say you have already been in contact with the European Investment Bank because you're negotiating your loan parameters. Once these loan parameters are more or less stable, let's say, we say that you can submit the grant proposal to the Commission. It's an application process. And as I told you, you will have the advisory support, which can help you developing your application. So once your application is submitted, after one of these submission deadlines that we have, what we do is we have 3 months to assess your grant proposal. Once we have assessed your grant proposal, if it's positive, if it's indeed in line with the call, with all parameters that we have in the Commission, we accept it. We say, okay, you would be granted the loan. You would be granted the grant, but we still wait for the loan assessment because this is done separately by the European Investment Bank. There they have up until 18 months to close their due diligence process. Simply said, it's your negotiation and the parameters of the loan. Once there is approval of the loan, we can proceed with our award decision, and our SINEA colleagues, actually the executive agency, starts with the grant agreement preparations, and then finally, once we have the signature of the financing agreement for the loan. This is done with the investment bank, the European Investment Bank. Then the signature of the grant agreement follows. So you see there's two streams of application processes that you have to follow. It can be a lengthy process. It's true, but yeah, we try. I mean, we have advisory support that tries to help you throughout the whole process. Next slide, please. And now I wanted to give you two examples of what we have under the facility. So under the social infrastructure part, we are financing the construction of sustainable and social affordable housing in Västerbotten in Sweden with a grant budget of 11 million. What we also have is that under the energy and efficiency, for instance, there is the development of a new heating and cooling district heating in Heerlen, which is in the Netherlands, and this is going also to connect housing, social housing, actually in particular, to the network. Therefore, they needed the grant. So it can be also about renovation and about making housing more energy efficient, let's say. Next slide, please. Now I will dig a bit more into the example. So the first example I was talking about is a Swedish one. It's really at the core of the transition because they are going in Västerbotten County. There are new intensive industry, green industry being developed. And because of the growing need for workers in the area, they're going to construct around 750 energy efficient, affordable housing units. And I think the most important here is that you see the financial support that we are giving. So this is a project cost, total cost of 142 million, out of which they got an EIB loan. They negotiated an EIB loan and got it for 71 million, which is approximately 50% out of the total cost. And then we gave them 15% out of the EIB loan, which is 11 million, but then in the total cost, it's 8%. And then they had their own financing of 60 million, which is approximately 42% of the total cost of the project. If you need more information, you can have a look on the link provided. Next slide, please. And then, about the sustainable heating and cooling network in the Limburg, in the municipality of Heerlen, in the Netherlands. So they are going to develop. I mean, they are in an advanced stage actually of their heating and cooling network, and it's very innovative because they're going to use heat and cool supplied by underground waters from closed coal mines, which have been closed before. So this is also really at the core of the transition. And what is beneficial about the grant that they are going to, I mean, they are getting from the Commission is that they're going to connect social housing units to the network to make it more energy efficient. And so this is going really is expected to reduce the intensity of the CO2 emissions and to contribute to higher energy efficiency. And then on the right side, you can see the financial support. So it concerns a project total cost of 164 million, out of which they got 55%, so 90 million in loan from the European Investment Bank, and then they got the 15% from the European Commission under the grants from the loan, and then they had an own financing of 60 million, so approximately 37% out of the whole total project costs. I think, this is it more or less. Here you can find a lot of useful resources. It is a very interesting instrument. It is a bit, might be a bit complicated, but it's another tool that you can use according to the needs and to what is available for housing. Voilà, that's it on my side.
Thank you, Cynthia. Thank you very much. I already studied your facility, but today you solved a lot of that I had before. I'm a bit lost with the questions in the chat while I'm focusing because I was paying attention for switching your slides. I'm having a couple of questions, and one of them is related, I think, with one question here. Okay, you explained that you can bundle, you can make like it's called bundling or bundle projects. Like if the projects are not big enough,
Framework loans.
you can bundle these projects. And also you said, and these projects can belong to different regions or even different countries, etc. So in that case, if you receive a common project with projects with different from different countries, regions. I don't know how to say in English. In Spanish, it's like with different juridic personalities, or I don't know how to say in English. Who is in charge of paying the loan? Do they have to create a new legal entity for that, or how is it working?
So how it can be different options, of course, but how it is usually done is that how we see it done for under our facility is that you have one ministry at a national level, which is taking up the loan and dispersing the loan to the different regions and making construction the projects, let's say the housing units, the housing projects. So this is typically what is done under the facility, also because ministries are usually the ones that have the capacity, the ability to take up loans from the European Investment Bank, because as we know, as you said in the beginning of your presentation, that the banks usually look to your credit worthiness, your ability to be able to pay back the loan, etc. And in this case, once the ministry gets involved, it's how they negotiate the loan with the IB and then give it to the regions according to a management structure. So each project has a different management structure that they have set up together with the ministry. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Interesting. Thank you very much. And I think that my question is a bit related to the question from Gisela Menoscal, like a small developer company can apply. I guess that the answer, Cynthia, is like a small company, but it should be a public company, of course, I guess.
With a public mission. So it can be private, but it has to have demonstrate that they have a public mission. Then they can but this is approved. I mean, this is for us assessed on a by case basis. So depending on what you provide as a supporting document, we assess and we see whether it is eligible or not.
And also, I guess that it's related to the size of the project. That's why I'm linking with bundling projects, etc. Because after your presentation, I'm seeing that public sector loan facility is not for small project, is for medium to large.
Yes,
to large
this
projects.
Usually is the case.
Okay. I have a couple of questions more. The advisory support from the Invest EU advisory support. This support is only for projects that are applying to the facility, or also is for the projects during the development of the renovation or of the construction or whatever is comparing the whole process from before applying until the end, I guess, right?
Yes, it's for the whole process indeed. So it covers the whole cycle and the needs of the beneficiaries. But this, of course, also discussed with our advisory support colleagues. They assess the needs and they assess what they can do and then provide. But in principle, or what we have agreed on is indeed that it covers the whole cycle of the project, let's say, including implementation.
Good. And my last one. I saw that, of course, you expect that there is own financing, own resources from the side of the projects. But what do you mean with own resources? Like own resources from their pocket, or these own resources can come from another loan with another bank, or do you
Yes.
differentiate the origin of these sources?
Yeah,
Or
usually, indeed. So I told you about this condition that our facility cannot be combined with resources at the European level, so with other funding programs, but under own resources, so it can be combined with national funding. So what we see is usually under own resources is a percentage that they get from regional funding, national funding. Sometimes it's rarely the case, but sometimes it happens that it's indeed from another loan, from a commercial bank, etc. And then a small portion, which is their own financing. So it's and this is really different for each project. So it's really this is the structure of the own financing is very different. That's why we say own financing, but it's indeed various sources of funding that they can collect together to make the project work in the end.
good, thank you. And now I'm checking a bit the chat before ending the webinar. What is the eligibility criteria? You explain it in a very good way. For those that want to benefit from call opportunities, doesn't mean they should have. Okay, for those that want to benefit from the call opportunities between 2026 and 27 grant component, does it mean that they should have already started the negotiation with the EIB, considering the lengthy process of 18 months for the loan?
Well, 18 months is the maximum. We can go much quicker. It really depends on actually the maturity of your project. So in which phase that you are, and that you're going to negotiate the loan. For us, it's 18% is the maximum. But indeed, so if you want to profit from the available budget, what is left, then yeah, I would say you should start negotiations right away. For to get the grant part, it's not necessary that the loan is already signed, but it is because we calculate the percentage of the grant out of the loan. So the parameters should be more or less, we say, stable. That's what we recommend. So you can apply, so we can proceed with the application of your project, let's say. So indeed, it's a bit, it's not like the final stage, but yes, I mean, you need to approach the bank as soon as possible. Yes.
Good, thank you.
I have a question. I'm sorry.
Yeah, okay, Nina. Okay,
Yeah,
Nina, go ahead.
I don't
told
want to
you that
interrupt
you can ask questions.
Hi, my name is Nina Iliev, and I'm an architect and urbanist, and I'm focusing on affordable housing, and I have a special interest in informal Romani design houses. We have problems in Eastern Europe, so I've developed some projects, and they were recognized internationally, and I'm interested to test here in Sofia some. And I was wondering what is the best way to apply. Since I'm an architect, I also have an NGO. Is it better to apply as my own firm or like a municipality? Or is it like what is the smallest and the size of the project will be best for this, like for my for first application? If you can just give me some orientation, what is the best way to approach it? It will be my first time to apply for that.
Well, it's really depending on your project and what's in the project. But as I told you, the parameters is that the minimum budgets for the EIB to go and negotiate is 12.5 million.
Mm-hmm.
And then out of which you get the grant, which is 1.5 or 1.3. No, 1.8, sorry. So yeah, if in NGO if you're an NGO, but so you have to see it's different parameters that you have to check whether you're eligible or not. So the first is to see, okay, where is the project located? You have to check the just transition regions in your country. And then you have to assess, okay, our NGO, does it have a public sector mission? Is it a public entity? What is your legal situation in this case, and whether it's eligible or not? What is the status of your project? And then approach the local EIB office in your country, get to talk to the people, negotiate a bit the project and what you have in mind, the idea, and then get it to get more real. And then once you have all these things together, you can apply for the grant. It's if you go to the link on the tender portal, you will see how the application form is put there, and then you can put all these parameters, all information, description of your project, etc., and then it can go, and then it gets to us. So there are different things that you have to assess before.
I heard you said like 12.5 million is the lowest price, the lowest price you can apply, and that's the loan. But I read somewhere that because of the affordable housing plan, the European affordable housing plan, European Investment Bank will fund project to 100%, not as a loan, if they are like socially oriented and environmentally friendly. So I don't know if that's something which is.
I'm afraid it might be the case recently, but I'm afraid this is really for an EIB colleague to answer. I'm here representing what we have under the facility, and this is the parameters that have been agreed. But okay, it's indeed already quite some years ago. It might be that the EIB policy is changing because the priority of the EU is also changing, and housing is becoming a very top priority. But I'm afraid I cannot answer your question whether it is 100%. And if it's 100%, then obviously you don't need the grant because it's going to fund the whole project if it's 100%.
Thank you so
Yes,
much.
Nina, please
Thank you.
Have in mind that the EIB is behind different programs, etc., and maybe what you are seeing for the European Affordable Housing Plan with the EIB behind that is not very related with the public sector loan facilities. So that's why I presented this full picture at the beginning of the webinar. Like those are all the main options, funding options you have, and EIB is behind some of them, not only behind the public sector loan facility.
I see. Okay, thank you so much.
Jose Ospina, do you want to ask something with your own voice, or should I read? Okay.
Yes, my question is actually on the chat. We're a small housing association. We're an approved housing body that develops social housing with government support in the south of Ireland. We would be interested in looking at this facility, but looking at the Just Transition programme, we see that only Midlands in Ireland is actually designated as a priority area, and we see that the measures actually designated are not housing. Their employment diversification, their transport. Does that mean that we could not apply for a social housing project in Ireland?
Yeah, well, I do not have the full picture of all regions and of all plans, but indeed, if this is your assessment, then it's indeed the case, because indeed it's not all regions that are eligible for funding. So that's why I was saying that, okay, your starting point is actually the plans, because there you see the regions, which regions are eligible or not, and unfortunately this was decided by your government. It's the member state who decided this, yeah. So the what is eligible under the public sector loan facility in terms of her housing or something else, it's indeed also decided by the assessment by the member state of the development needs. So in case, yeah, this is what you have seen, then I'm afraid not. Yes.
Well, this is quite shocking, because Ireland has one of the biggest housing problems in all Europe, with a massive deficit in affordable and social housing, mainly because the cost of commercial housing is so high that 50% of people can't afford it. But I suppose that doesn't really come into the consideration of the Just Transition programme as such. But it does seem to indicate to me that there is a need for other affordable and social housing funding mechanisms within the EU. If this support is not going to be targeted at areas which don't really coincide with where housing need actually is.
Yes. Just to clarify that our plans, I mean, the plans, when they were made by the member states, it was not only about housing, it's about a whole range of investment that are needed. And in some member states at that time, housing was a top priority and they put it in the plans, but then others included other investments in the plans, while included housing for under other mechanisms. So it was really like how member states put priorities or included like investments in housing or investments in other sectors, let's say, in under which mechanisms. So it's not that your country did not include housing in this plan, that is not included in another plan, for instance, with other financing mechanism. This is just a small clarification that our facility is not only for housing, it's really broader, and it was really the exercise for member states to see which mechanism, how they approach the different funding mechanisms that are available in the Commission, to see what to fund under which mechanism. So this is just small clarification on my side.
I'm afraid that this is I've never been in a webinar with everyone asking every minute. It's like we could be here for hours. So I think we have to cut the webinar at some point. You will receive an email from our site with the links to the recording, to the presentations, etc. So I'm going to read only one question more to Cynthia, and I'm going to say something. If I'm wrong, please correct me. Cynthia, related to another question that was here like 30 minutes before. I believe, before the question, I believe that in your online resources, you are not giving details of the interest rates and the condition of the EIB loan, that it depends on the moment of the project, etc. So they are not going to access to your website and they are going to see 1.5 plus Euribor. That's not going to happen, never.
No.
Okay, I'm right with that. And last question, please, after I'm sending you that email with the links, etc., if there is a question that we haven't answered or I missed, etc., please send me again the question and I forward to our panelists. Last question is like, how do you determine if a private law body, if a public body has a public service mission?
I might have already replied to this question. So this is
Okay.
actually done on a case by case basis. So what we actually, you should provide supporting documents, the supporting documents that you can provide. And then we assess this on a case by case basis. So we check the supporting documents. If there are additional documents needed, we usually also tend to ask, and then we assess again, and we see whether it's eligible or not. So this is a very difficult question. There is a Q&A about this in the call, which provide a bit more clarification, but it's not a straightforward one, let's say.
Okay, thank you, Cynthia. There was here a discussion about topics related with the economic analysis, the SROI, etc. That in the beginning they asked for a space for discussion, but we are running like more than 1 hour late. But be confident that I will take your ideas and your discussion for the last webinar, because I thought the discussion you were having in the chat and the first question like 1 hour and a half ago was very interesting for the purpose of this economic analysis, going beyond that, this financial model, this financial analysis. And that's all from our side. I believe that Electra and Andrea had to leave the webinar. I understand it. Thank you. Electra is here. Thank you, Electra. Thank you, Cynthia. Thank you very much. Special thanks to you, Electra, for the big effort today. And for all attendees, I hope you enjoyed the webinar, and I hope to see you in the next webinar. Thank you very much, and have a nice afternoon.
Thank you. Enjoy your
Thank
afternoon.
you. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye. Have a good afternoon. Bye.
Thank you.